Dasha Maya Baba Zobes, Rivada Shazon, Devaresha, Jiden, Kalo Jova, Lana, Meva, Lada, Melonjet, Sanje Jumden, Bejawa, Shajan Tuba, Chaselon, Jodan, Yazo, Java, Damba, Jumden, Dajumba, Yanda, Zobes, Sanje, Rivada, Shazon, Devaresha, Jiden, Jamba, Jivon, Kalo Jova, Lana, Tada Menanje, Damba, Sanje, Jumden, Bejawa, Shaja Tuba, La Chaselon, Jodan, Yazo, Damba, Jumden, Dishinsheva, Dashumba, Yanda, Zobe Sanje Rivada Shazon Dema Devarisha Jidin Jemba Jivun Deva Kalo Jeva Laname Tada Menanje Dema Sanje Jumden Bejo Shaja Tubala Shazano Shudo Jazusha Kanze Kanye Zowa Jadamaze Sajen Dinako Mane Jidin Dena Jojeso Deze Keba Jemazo Namda Gunga Shodo Susawa Yishi Jazu Sejen Chaban Jiden Sumna Lamema, Gombo Shunye Jona Cha, Senjo Demba Chimen Davish, Sendo Nawa Jona Cha, Dije Jana Siva Sumaje, Nyame Jenje Jona Cha, Gombo Tuji Chedamba, Tamje Jemia, Demba, Sonami Yundeja, Dijin Shama Cha, Zeno Taben de Shacha, Giving Son, Chidu Denamisho, Washington Jona Cha, Zeno Jena Jena. Lavatala Rabdone Shinga Tamba Yin Den Gendu Diwajin Meja Jengava Puso Sobaja Rangi Sinde Tenesanje Demaye Kamara Rima Meda Jumase Chugruda Melongo Dijishanam Dedrada Sonam Dieta Jesse Kobandum Ne Jinjin Gada Nada Shiva Labjuve Sibe Solendro One Joe.
The teacher, the blessed one gone beyond. For destroyer, completely perfected, fully awakened, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugata and all the world, supreme guide of beings to be taken, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, to subdue upon the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and call for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one gone for this truth, completely perfected, fully awakened, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, know of the word, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, subdue upon the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one gone beyond, for this truth, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, know of the word, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, subdue upon the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When a supreme among humans, you are born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise, then I prostrate. With the pure bodies born supremely pure, wisdom motion like golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, you know the best, to you I prostrate. With the supreme science, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, the 3 worlds are not, incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior in great compassion, the teacher having all understanding, filled of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you the one God to thusness I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtues which frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to the Dharma which pacifies I prostrate. Those who are liberated and also show the path to liberation, the holy faith qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you the sublime community and virtue I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions, subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, mirage, or flammable lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a clouds, see conditioned things as such. Through these merits, many sentient beings attain record of seeing, subdue the four modes, and be delivered from motion of suffering, of aging, sickness, and death.
Sanjay Jala Zoja Jala La Chanju Pado Dane Jazu Dage Jazu Jibe Dola Benje Sanjay Droga Sanjay Jala Zoja Chanju Pado Dage Jazu Jibe Sonamji and Dola Benje Sanjay Droga Sanjay Jala Zoja Jala Chanju Pado Dage Jazu Jibe Sonamji and Dola Benje Sanjay Droga Sanjay Jala Zoja Jala Chanju Pado Dage Jazu Jibe Sonamji and Dola Benje Sanjay Droga Sanjay Shoda Soja Chanju Pado Dane Jazu Dage Jazu Jibe Sonamji Dola Benje Sanjay Droga
I go for refuge and Islamic enlightenment to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Tamje Jimbala Shah, the London Sanjay Jumden, and the Shenshon Jama Yanta was over Sanjay Ribato. The Rajavan Jiden Jamba Jiva de Kano Jiva, Lana Sanjay Jumden, there so on the Shenshon, so long Dagi Judon, Givazawan, Chimiza. Severa to Jama Sonam Jetaranam Jeshi, Peja Sambona, Chana Jima, Juyerimato. Tona Midemba Meva, Tebe Meva, Mobraga, Sheriff Sigil. Shero Sigil, Tona, Simjatam Jiji, Tamba, Chanju Samanam Java, Pabe Hasana, Javo, Yangan, Transition to Tebe. Ishipada Meva, Boba Sanjay, Sona Brata, Yanima, Kujata, Chomiship, Kusuma Meva, the Vatagan, Soda Yava, Sumavata, Madu, number two. Pumbadana number two, Bakana, Medemba, Jason, Namanda, the Vana Shiluji, also don't Sivalea Juba Juba will give a Yeshion of the Devana Majamba, Tata, Sanjay Jimlendi, Ishana Neava, and Yagan, the Bana, Medeva Yanda, Simjatam Jana, Sana Juba. The Lanea Sanjay Jimlendi, Jaguchi, and the Yanda, Vision of the monkey, public, Tamaki, but the answer. Sindrezama Mandeba Yozo, 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 Chawa, Yanda, Denver, Tisha, Detona, Daniel, Kevana, Sozura, River, Chimney, and was to be shown the water. Yavajo was over Shaju, the Rovacha, Medeba, the water, the Matemba, you would give a Teva, Chimney, and then Lever Sugar, River Sugar, Tombo Sugar, Timaja. Charge with the Jibas on the vacation years, John Jiman, Kudo, Jimenez with your Chambo, Kangia to the years on the daughter, Mission that turns the bottom down, chance. Yes, I think page 307, right?
I have 305.
Huh? What did we get about this? 305?
305. Yeah, I think we got to the top of 305. Or maybe we completed that. 306, the top of 306, sorry. I didn't change my.
Yeah, okay.
So I think this one I remember I read it. So therefore the dependent natures, which is the cause of the impure things, has intrinsic existence. It emerges in the absence of external reality. It actually exists. So I think three characteristics of the other powered nature, or the conditional things. The first, it merges, emerges in the absence of external reality, and it exists. It actually exists, it truly exists. And number three, it is beyond the realm of the concept. So the mind-only school thinks that every conditional things, first, it is the truly exist. Anything that is born from the cosmic conditions, anything that is being produced, truly exist, intrinsically exist, inherently exist, truly exist. And what is not inherently exist, what is not truly exist, is external reality. Form, sound, smell, taste, textures. It appears to the consciousness as something external, but they are all, like a consciousness, all arises, emerges from the propensity that within the mind basis for all. From the mind basis all, like it's one seed that mature in two kind of, two aspects or two layers. One is the subject, one is the object. The eye consciousness and the form, air consciousness and sound, nose consciousness, the smell, tongue consciousness, the taste, and body consciousness, the tactilities, are all, arises from the mature form, the propensity which is within the mind basis of all, or the foundation of consciousness. So, so the every conditional things truly exist, but form, sound, smell, text, tactilities, the textures, and as an external is not truly exist. It actually exists, truly exists, and it's beyond the realm of the concept. So then the conditional things are never be directly, perceived or experienced by any concept, speech, which means the thought has no direct access to any conditioned things. So Cittamatra, given that the settled meaning of the scripture is known to be as we have explained above, one should accept without hesitations. So explain above, all truly exist, no external reality beyond the realm of the concepts. So accept without hesitation, therefore, that dependent natures, so dependent nature has intrinsic existence. This is because we maintain it to be the cause of the entire network of the conceptualizations. This is because they maintain to be cause of the entire network of the conceptualizations. So the cause of here means is the base, the sounds, form, sound, smell, taste, textures, including the consciousness, are the conditional things, and they are dependent nature, or they are other powered nature. And this is the basis for thought to impose or to superimpose. So therefore, it is saying maintained to be cause of the entire network of the conceptualizations.
Geshe, you said thought has no access to conditioned things. I
said no direct access to the conditioned things.
But thought itself is conditioned, right?
Yeah.
So thought has access to itself, and thought is a conditioned thing. So therefore, thought has access to some conditioned things. Could you explain that more? Because it doesn't seem quite correct to me.
So you cannot say thought has direct access to the thought, because thought is the conditioned things. Thought is the conditioned things, and the thought must have direct access to the thought, because thought can directly experience the thought. So then your face has direct access to your face because it's your face. So what happened to your face? Could not see yourself. So I think here, which means that any thought to perceive any object always has to go through the mediations, imaginations, any imputation like characteristics. So without imagination or without characteristic that is imposed by the thought, thought has no access to perceive, to experience anything. Like eye consciousness can directly experience the form, air consciousness directly access to the sound, but thought to perceive the form and has to create the imagination of the form. In that way, thought can perceive, thought can understands the nature of the form through their own imagination. So that's why I'm saying this is the mind-only school, and it also true in the Pasangya school, all kind of school thought. Say thought has no direct access to any conditional things. So you cannot say thought must have direct access to the thought itself, because it is the conditioned things. So now so here they're saying we maintain to be the cause of the entire network of the conceptualizations. So this is what the conditional things are truly exist, and it is now the basis for the thought to project, thought to create imagination, thought to superimpose. So therefore, it is the cause of the entire network of the conceptualizations. Yeah, I think that's that pretty much explained. So thought, to think about thought, again, thought has to create imagination. So that imagination is not thought. Thought to think of the house, thought has to create the imagination of the house. That the very imaginations that projected, created by the thought is not the house. Something which is not the actual object, through that way, thought has to, through that way, thought kind of try to perceive, try to conceive, try to realize, that's. So I always say it's like, thought is like, blind persons. Then if thought is relying on the reasoning, and then skillful blind person, because it has standing, standing on the valid reasoning, and and then thought can perceive correctly. If thought is not relying on the logic and the reasoning, and thought can assume something, and thought can go wrong, wrongly perceived.
I have another question here about the meaning of conditioned things. I mean, you've referred to the senses as kind of direct perceivers of their respective characteristics. But what I don't understand, they are perceivers, but why are they conditioned? I can understand they're direct perceivers, but I don't understand why the term conditioning. I mean, if a baby sees for the first time, or a lizard sees something, why do we say that's conditioned? I thought conditioning requires a repetition for a behavior to reoccur. Like if you say I'm conditioned to the English language, or
Habit.
that means I've used something the same way over and over again, and it's created a kind of pattern.
I don't know. So when I heard the conditions, the Nagarjunas mentioned the four conditions, right? The four conditions. Things to be conditioned by the substantially conditioned, or objectively conditioned, and what is that? Another one. Immediately preceding, condition or ruling conditions. Eye consciousness is conditioned by the eye sense power. So that's called eye sense power is the ruling conditions, because eye consciousness named after the eye sense power, eye consciousness. So therefore, although there are many conditions, the form is conditioning the eye consciousness, and eye sense power is conditioning eye consciousness. But we say eye consciousness, therefore the eye sense power is ruling conditions. The immediately preceding conditions, the eye consciousness to perceive, to to apprehend any form, and previously one of the sensual consciousness has disintegrated. If the air consciousness is too much focusing on the sound, then that obscure to the eye consciousness to apprehend, to directly understand the form. So therefore, immediately cessation of another sense consciousness is become the immediately preceding conditions. Yeah. Condition is not repeatedly, So you can, barley seed is a conditioning, the barley sprout. It's not a habit.
Could you talk a little about the Tibetan word for conditioning and what it means in terms of its root, the word itself?
Yeah, Tibetan word we say the cause and the conditions. Cause is a ju, and conditions is a gen. Ju, gen, cause and condition. So when we divided cause and condition two separately, then like what is the barley sprout cause and what is the barley sprout condition? So then we dividing, barley seed is the cause of the barley sprout. And the assembly of the cause and condition, like water, the soil, the heats, all those are conditioning. So if you and when you when you're not separating cause and condition, and then it says, barley seed is the substance. It is the causal condition. So barley seed can be causal condition for the sprout, and then with the barley seed, the waters, the winds are, so it's it's a corporate condition, the causal condition and the corporate conditions. So anything that is a cause, and it, that is the condition. Anything that condition is the cause.
Now, if we translate that, say, to seen, what would be the causal condition? Would it be the organ? Would it be the like? Or is it not strictly transferable to that schema?
Huh?
If we're talking about a sense and its object, like seeing, and the object is, like when we talk about the stalk, what's the cause? Is the seed, the primary cause. And then there's supporting conditions necessary to create the effect of perception with the eye. Let's see, what's my question? So if we talk about the sense, like seeing, the same way as we talk about seed and stalk, because seed and stalk has a primary cause, which is the seed, and then the supporting conditions, right? Like water and sun and so forth. If we were to translate that to the eye perceiving, is it strictly, is like the main cause? Is the organ the main cause? Or it's not quite the same as seed and stalk?
You mean what is the causal condition for the eye consciousness? The causal condition for the eye consciousness is, so this is causal condition, like just is a preceding, the previous eye consciousness or any mental consciousness, which is potential to be potential to be manifest, or potential to be arises as a form of the eye consciousness. So which means causal condition of the eye consciousness must be the consciousness, right? So no consciousness can be a causal condition for the eye consciousness. Eye sense power is not the causal condition for the eye consciousness, because eye sense power is not turning into consciousness. Eye sense power is the conditioning, to receive the reflections of the form, and that experienced by the consciousness. So the causal, like a barley seed is the causal condition for the barley sprout, and similarly, the causal condition of I consciousness is the previous, the consciousness. So only the consciousness can be manifest, manifest, right? Yeah. Only consciousness can be manifest as I consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness. So there is no form, any form that is transforming into or turning into consciousness. That is not possible. So here the minority schools talking about the three characteristic of the dependent nature. So which means the dependent nature means their understanding of the dependent natures. Minority schools understanding dependent natures. Minority school thinks the dependent arising only understood in the sense of cosmic condition. Things, something that is not in the category of the cosmic condition, they are not dependent arising. So the arising, they think, arises from the cosmic conditions. So that is dependent arising in minority school. So the Prasangika school, dependent arising means something identified, but depending upon other factors. So that is the dependent arising. So any object, condition or unconditioned, impermanence or the permanence, anything that is, in the form, in the identity, as an object, so that must be the dependent arising. So dependent arising, the interpretation of the dependent arising in more narrowly in the interpreted in dependent arising in the minority school, that is only conditioned things. In the Prasangika schools, more widely interprets the dependent arising. So in the Prasangika school says dependent arising in the sense of cosmic condition, dependent arising in the sense of designations. So the both are dependent arising. Now this is now the minority school. Minority school says the dependent arising always in the condition of things, and then that condition of things has three characteristics. Is the basis for the imputation, and it truly exists, and it is absence of absence of external reality, right? The first is that absence of external reality is truly exists and beyond the realm of concept. So now it's so which is the cause of the imputed things? Now cause. The word cause is not the same thing that we understand the cosmic condition. So it's almost like when the table is the dependent rising, is the dependent nature, and it is truly exist, and it is not external reality in the absence of the realm of the concept, beyond the realm of the concept. So the table is truly exist. Table is truly exist, but it is not really externally exist. So it's still, the table is something that manifests or arising or mature from the propensity. And it is the basis for imputationals. So imputational here, some people can impute, in their own language, a table, and then some other people call it, in the Tibetan we call Chotse, So it become the basis for the many names. So that means this table, this very basis of the table is by itself not becoming the basis of different name. The different names becoming basis of different name is conceptually with languages created. So anything that out of language, they projected, they created, are imputational. So the table is the basis for that imputation. Like, yeah, I think that's it. So we can give any name. We can give, so the table is suitable for naming any kind. You can give the name of the table of the person's name who gave you that table, and you can give the name. So anyway, and then what I'm trying to explain is, in this line it says, this is because we maintain it to be the cause of the entire network of conceptualizations. So sometimes our teacher explained, he said, like, there's one guy who bought a donkey, and from his village, and everybody call it guru. Then he, bring the donkey to the Lhasa, and everybody says pungu pungu. So then he went to another place and crossed the Tibet, and then everybody says gada gada. So he was so kind of surprised that now when I was in the village it was Kuru, then I came to Lhasa and suddenly it become pungu. And then I crossed the Tibet, and then everybody called it gada. So he was very surprised. This thing can be called by many names. So what he has brought is the basis for the conceptualizations. So like the woman, like sometimes you say the woman, and she is the basis for husband to conceptualize as a wife. And she is also the basis for the child, her child, to conceptualize as a mother. And she is also the basis for her mother to conceptualize as the daughter. Right. So when this woman, just by birth, is not a wife, not the woman, not the daughters. Right. So it's become, trying to explain the basis of the entire network of the conceptualizations. So that basis to conceptualize has to be conditional things. And what are without conditions, conditional things, without dependent arising, can thought conceptualize, anything, without seeing, without hearing, without smelling, without tasting, without touching it, without any experience. But still, we can superimpose. Oh, there is permanent I, and then the unicorn. In Hindu and Buddhist, there's a culture that says, pretty much like a unicorn. There's in Hindu. There's a what's the name of that? I forgot the name. There's a and looks animal. Head is lion and has 2 wings, and the body is like a human being. So there's another name. So these are just superimposed. There is no basis at all, no base. Just out of, how's that? The creatively and projected these things to tell the story. So those are superimpositions, without basis, that the baseless mental projection, baseless imputations are non-existence. With base imputation are existence. So the minority school, this is the minority school, and so and that such as the apprehension of the things of the subject and object world as imputed, as existing as substantially distinct from each other. Now, conceiving that the form and I consciousness is distinct each other, substantially distinct from each other, which means the dual the dualistic apprehension of the I consciousness, the form. So here, this is a superimposition. So the imputed existence are substantially distinct from each other's. Now the illusion of the snake, that is the based on seeing the coiled rope, does not arises where no rope is present. So that is also superimposition of the subject and object as the dualistic. And according to the minority school, they don't really accept the form that's seen by the I consciousness is different from the I consciousness. It is the nature of the I consciousness. So the being different from the I consciousness, superimpositional. Now, this superimpositional is based on, what you experience, what it appears to things. Form appears to I consciousness. There is the dependent rising. Yes, there is the form, there is the I consciousness. That is become the basis for to superimpose, as a two dualistic or two distinct, subject and object. So similarly, the coiled rope, the illusion of the snake, that is the basis on the seeing a coiled rope, does not arise where no rope is present. When the rope is not, there is no rope, and there is no, so there is no seeing snake from the coiled rope. And similarly, the false presentation of the object. Similarly, the false presentation of the objects.
Perception.
Huh?
False perception.
False perception, okay. Perception of the object, such as vast, does not occur just in the sky. So in the sky, there's nothing, right? If there's nothing, and you don't really you don't impute, or you do not superimpose. So without some physical locus, in the same manner, there is the question of what is the basis or the cause of illusions that conceives things such as blue patch as the external, right? Since there is no external reality. So therefore, one must accept without doubt existence of an imperfect dependent natures, that is the perceived in the dualistic term of the substantially distinct subject and object. So imperfect, Yangda Mahimbas. Tibetan say Yangda Mahimbas. Yangda Mahimba means something that is if that is the consciousness, it's mistaken consciousness, and so our eye conscious, nose conscious, the tongue conscious, the body consciousness, and mental consciousness, ordinary perceptions, or it perceives something, it realizes things, but it is imperfect dependent arising. So it has, why it is imperfect dependent arising? Imperfect means it has so much influence from your, habituations, influence and impact from your, afflictive emotions, the grasping of self. So therefore, is imperfect dependent arising. So the eye consciousness, seeing the form as an independent, distinctive object, is because of the, your grasping the self of phenomena that influence the eye consciousness. That in that way, the eye consciousness see object is something, independent. So therefore, is imperfect dependent natures, that is the perceived in the dualistic term of the substantially distinct subject and object, which is the cause for the illusion of external realities. So therefore, you see everything is out there independently. So that because of the grasping the self of phenomena, your misconceptions.
So I have a little trouble with this because I see it saying that the filter of the self, the filter of a falsely created self, is the basis for mistaken identity, like mistaking rope for snake. But it would seem at least conceivable to me that there could be some other cause of making a mistake without a self. Why do they exclude other possible causes for mistaken perception? Why do they say it's exclusively in the realm of a falsely created self?
The 12 originations, in the process of becoming birth, aging, and the death. So in that 12 independent originations, because of the birth, the death happened. Why it did not mention about the car accident? Why it mentions people dying from the cancer? So it's the point. This is to say, so because the birth, anything that has born has to die. That's the nature of the phenomena. But it did not refuting or negating there is another cause for the death. Food can be death, accident can be there is. Now here they're saying that, but the point is the minority schools making is, things that we see, we smell, we hear, we experience are the basis for, impute, superimpose. Right. So that is the main point they're trying to make it. So for that reason, they're saying, there's always sense of I is always there. So that is undeniably, that is the reality. The self, I exist. Now, if the self, I exist, but, what you conceive, how you conceive that self, and you say, sometime because of the philosophical, or religiously influenced, and you say, oh, that self, I is permanent, eternal. And, with you say, this self and I is imputed based on the combination of the mind and body. So therefore, once the mind and body is impermanent, then anything that identity that exists because of the mind and the body cannot be permanent. Right? So in a forest, a country exists. So that the country is everybody accept, it will change. Because the basis, the country is existing identity of the country is based on those people that keep changing. And a forest, that is the imputation of factors at the country, it is identity of forest as a singular, as based on the trees. So when the tree changes, a forest changes. So the trees are impermanent, a forest becomes permanent. It's not, it's not possible. So in that way, the self or I that exists because of the mind and body is changing. Therefore, how can that identity of the self is permanent? So in that way, you can. But so they're saying the why people superimpose the self is eternal. And what is the basis for that? The basis is, naturally it comes in your mind. I am, just by looking to the form, and so, oh, I am seeing it. The hearing, oh, I am hearing it. Right? I'm listening it. I'm smelling it. So the I am that naturally comes. So that is the dependent arising. That is the dependent arising. Now this, this kind of, the sense of I, this sense of I is if your mind is so much influenced, impact by the misconception, and you tend to see that I is eternal. If your mind is completely, understood the reality, and then yes, there is sense of I, but it is not, truly exists, not independently exists, not self-sufficiently exists, and it is existing by the thought. So it's depending on the mind, the way it perceives things under the influence of the misconceptions, or and with realizations. So the base is the sense of I. The base is sense of I. Where you go wrong with object is because of your misconceptions. If there is no sense of I at all in your mind, and you don't impute, you don't superimpose. So that is the main point. So that's the whole point that I was just saying is the cause of whole entire network of the conceptualizations. This is the point. So yeah, the cause for the illusion, external reality, and this basis of the perceptions, namely dependent natures, constitute the cause of both bondage to afflict existence and freedom of enlightenment. And then again says, not only this is the basis for, to the right perception and the wrong perception, it is also the basis for, the a basis for the path to cycling in samsara, the path to enlightenment. Those dependent risings, what you see, what you smell, what you hear, what you experience, are the basis for you to go lower realm, you to go higher rebirth, and that is also the basis for you to find the right path to the enlightenment. So those things that you see, these are the basis. Like this is like same house. Sometimes you sit comfortably. That very same house is sometimes staying there uncomfortably, a bit angrily, right? So that house is providing you for whatever you want to be. You want to be uncomfortable? Yes, I'm with you. You want to be comfortable? Yes, I'm with you. Like a sofa. So I think that also another kind of another meaning is to go wrong, and you have to superimpose on what you see, what you smell, what you taste, what you experience. To go right way, again, you have to understand as it is, what you see, what you smell, what you taste, what you feel, and what you experience. And if you want to go beyond the samsara, again, you have to see that things that you see is more deeper. So more deeper and more kind of, maybe it's more profoundly, more deeper understanding of the, form, sound, smell, taste, tactilities, and then all this consciousness and experience. So yeah, that's it. Like in mouth, you take medicine, you take, or any poisons with through mouth, right? Maybe there's another implication from that. Some people find things that so we can be like. Some people may think that so the things that you see and smell as has nothing to do with your enlightenment. So you just follow the instructions, the methods, and most of the time those mythical story following and projects in your mind there's some kind of divine things, and then praying and worshiping, devotion to that. So that minority school and this Preceding school may not really agree with that. Those mythical stories, the projecting in your mind and getting excited and having devotion to that, if you have not known things that you see and smell, taste, and tactility, you totally ignore that and just simply following the mythical stories and project in your mind. So maybe there is no path of enlightenment. So these are kind of additionals. It's not really not implicitly even mentioned in this text. So yeah, in either of the two systems, whether Madhyamika or Cittamatra, if there is the presentation of the emptiness, whereby the very thing that constitute the basis of clinging, the thing that ordinary sentient beings perceived and grasp as truly existing in the manner they perceive it too, is shown to be empty of that mode of existence. So the mind-only school, empty of the dualistic. The Madhyamika school, particularly Preceding school, empty of intrinsic and inherent. So then the realization such as emptiness, they constitute the path to liberations. If one does not take the negation of that conceived object of ordinary sentient beings, the clinging to truly existing to be the realization of emptiness, but establish some extraneous emptiness to be truth instead. So now this is a little bit, we call it sarcastic. Lama Tsongkapha is sarcastically pointing out that, so yes, the mind-only school, Madhyamika school, they all mention, and they're all, things that, liberation is through understanding the ultimate truth, which is the emptiness. And then about the emptiness, and some in the mind, according to the mind-only school, the emptiness, what you are emptying, then says mind-only school, we are simply emptying dualistic nature of the subject and object. Right. So emptying the dualistic nature of the subject and object. So like eye consciousness and the form as a dualistic is they are empty. And what is the basis for that is form and the consciousness. So you are not really examining in a form, you are not examining within the consciousness. You are simply examining, is it dualistic or it is the same nature? Right? So without any closer examination of the how form being exists, how consciousness being exists, not touching on the nature of the consciousness, the form, and simply questioning, is this two, substantially distincted, or they are essentially identical? Right. So it's fine that a little bit, how say, there are some fine imperfect analyzations, So it is dualistic or they are essentially identical. So and when you empty, you are emptying in the dualistic form, right? So which is you also accept is non-existence. So now you are emptying the negation element on non-existing, and through that way you try to understand the other power natures, ultimate nature of the consciousness, ultimate nature of the form. So you think that you are trying to understand ultimate nature of the form and consciousness by emptying on non-existence, right? So because you are emptying simply dualistic is, not true. And almost like rabbit horn is not true. Therefore, now I understand ultimate nature of the rabbit, right? So no donkey horns, therefore I understand, ultimate nature of the donkey. So there's some kind of, sarcastic there. So sometimes they call, so there's a Chonamba, and he talks about the emptiness. Chonamba, one of the great master in Tibet. So from there, we use the term the Shentong. The Shentong means, empty of others, like empty of others. So, and what he thinks that when he followed the 13 will of the Dharma, the minority school, sutras, and he himself claimed that he is the Madhyamika, but he follows the 13 will of the Dharma Sutra by studying and examining and extensive study on that. And he says, now I understand the 13 will of the Dharma says imputational factors do not truly exist, and other powers are truly exist. And he interpreted that, which means, things that you see and smell, and taste, the textures are only exist in the mistaken consciousness. This is how he thinks that he understood that. These are all, these are all object for the mistaken consciousness. Even those, like concept of the relations, the cause and effect relations, and then the concept of forest and country like this all general and particulars are all true to the mistaken consciousness, or reality to the mistaken consciousness. And what is the ultimately unmistaken and ultimate truth is the object for most settled consciousness. So that's what he's saying. And then we could question, what is that conscious that perceives the ultimate natures? Not the eye consciousness, not no consciousness, not even the mental consciousness. It says, there's a settled consciousness. And then that Sutrayana combined with Tantrayana. And he was the practitioner of the Kala Chakra, and the Tantrayana. And he mentioning the clear light, or as a we call clear light, vese, says innate, clear light consciousness. So this clear, very, innate, pure state of consciousness. So this can be, you can activate that consciousness by dissolving all the thought and all the conventional perceptions, dissolve, in empty, and then this most settled, the pure state of consciousness that actively functions. So at that time, there's a one object, the empty. Other than there is no form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no imagination, no characteristics. So he was saying, I think certainly with Buddha is referring to that, that most pure state, the most settled, the pure state of consciousness. So
I'm in overload, yeah, Sherry. I'm in overload with what you just said.
Go to the bathroom.
I'm not absorbing it. This one you just spoke of. And at first I thought you were saying he was mistaken, but then it sounded like you're saying he's basically following the prajna paramita, and emptying of others means finding that there's no inherent existence of anything other than what? I don't know. Other than there's no characteristics. And you, Shentang, we talked about this a little last week, Shentang, and I asked about Rongtong. And I think Rongtong's school had something to do with emptying self and Shentang emptying others. And I don't really understand this.
Yeah. So I think there's no way, if you just follow the words, you have to pretty much, study what Kunjen Chonaba in his book, how he explained his emptiness. So without studying that, just following the Rangtong words, Rangtong Shentong, there's no way you can understand. So he has some kind of deep understanding, realizations. Now when the critic is not pointing to his realizations, the critics are on way he explained the sutra. So the critics are way he explained the sutra. And so this says, if you are, explaining third turning wheel of the Dharma, imputational factors do not exist truly. Other than that, other power natures, the emptiness are truly existing. If you interpret that like Kala Chakra, and then that is a mistake. That's the critics. So no one is pointing the Kunja Chanava has, mistaken in his realization. So the way he presents the emptiness, that's. So I think, we should understand, we are not, there is no anyone, the Lama Tsongkapha or the Chandrakirtis, they never point to the person to criticize. You have no, realization of that. So they always says the way you write, or it is not valid reasoning, or way you interpret that sutra, the line, maybe there's a mistake. This is what they only can, criticize or argue, the dispute on that. It's not a person to the person, So without understanding, you have to study that Kunja Shonava's, his explanations of the emptiness, and you study this unraveling the thought, and then you can understand why they named Shentong. I don't think the Kunja Shonava himself says mine is Shentong and there are, Rangtong. So this just later on the commentators that gave this name. So anyway, I have to go a little bit. I read that last Sunday. The exterior is emptiness, the truth instead. This will not be an antidote to any level of clinging to true existence, the course of settle that has been ingrained, right, ingrained in us since the beginningless time. So one's effort will then be fruitless. So all are conditioned, by our own the habituations of the mistaken consciousness and the afflictive emotions. These are the conditioning for the consciousness to see things. Objects are truly existing. Objects are, distinct, independent from the subject. So understood, thus one will come to recognize correctly that just as the dependent nature that appears in the dualistic term is perceived in the dichotomous terms of the substantially distinct subject and object, the absence of such imputed natures that one grasped to be real constitute the emptiness that of negations. And what is the left behind the basis of the emptiness, and the emptiness itself. So so it kind of, there's when you empty the truly existing, of the dualistic, you also, accept that is non-existing. So you are emptying the truly existing on that non-existing, the characteristics. And what has left, what has untouched, so what has unexamined, what has unanalyzed, left is emptiness you haven't analyzed, the basis of the emptiness you haven't analyzed, which means to you that other power natures are truly exist and emptiness is truly exists. What is not truly exists is dualistic, is not truly exist. So at
can you explain the term other power? And can you also mention that sutra that Chandrakirti talked about? Rename.
Sutra, the unraveling thought. Gomba nyebra gondes, gomba nyende. Dodi gondes, sutra, the unraveling thought.
And the term other power, can you kind of essentialize that? I didn't quite get it.
So the mind-only school they like the term other powered natures or the conditional things. So why they says other powered natures, so the conditional things are powered by their own cause and conditions. So usually mind-only school says, the any conditional things, anything that conditional things that are past, so has no control of it or no possible of reappearing of their own positions. Anything that is conditioned things that are in the present time, they have no independent, there is no control, is also powered by the cause and conditions. And conditioned things that are, not yet born as the futures, has no, how say, no free wills to be, I'm going to be this way or that way and that way. Because, so now the whole proving that, anything that is happening conditionally is powered by cause and condition, driven by the cause and condition. Therefore, Prasangika and mind-only school want to give the name other powered nature, other powered natures. So the other powered natures, so the powered by the cosmic conditions. The ordinary sentient beings are conditioned, powered by their own habituations and emotions. The Buddhas, they're powered by compassion and the wisdom towards the emptiness. anything the Buddha is saying or doing or meditating is under the power of that, the wisdom realizing emptiness or the compassion. So everything is powered by the cosmic condition. So this is why the other power natures, the one is imperfect other power natures, one is the perfect other power natures. Or you can sometimes, the translation is like, contaminated other power nature, uncontaminated other power natures. So this is the term that is kind of, very often used in mindfulness schools. So this term is also comes from the Sutra, the Unraveling Thought. Sutra Unraveling Thought mentioned about the Shangwang, other power nature. So so knowing this excellent the meaning of the emptiness of spell. The opponent's thesis, the present here, is the standpoint, encapsulate in the phrase, the absence of this in that found in the Bodhisattva's ground, as the meaning of which is explained above. So this is the Asangas, one of the texts, names Bodhisattva's ground. Changsa, we call it, Chanjusipisa. So, and then the commentary on the sublime continuum, Lama, that is also Asanga's text. However, contain an explanations of the similar phrase, that which is absence in that. This latter case presents a way of explaining the phrase according to the Madhyamika's standpoint that is totally different from the first two texts. So two texts, Asanga's text. And again, fearing excessive length, I have not written about this point here. I think the paper must be too expensive in that time. So, so we have a lot of papers. So in brief, the dependent nature has three characteristics. So now coming back to the point again from the beginning, it comes into being in the absence of external reality. Again, that's one thing. And number two is it exists, intrinsically. That's number two. Number three, it is not an object of conceptual elaborations in the ultimate sense as understood in this tradition. So, since being the cause of imputed nature of things is included within the characteristic of being an intrinsically real entity, it is not the separate attributes from the threes. The statement that dependent nature exists does not refer to its mere existence. It refers to the special kind of existence. The master Thiramati says that in the following. So he is the disciple, student of the Vasubandhu. So when the text states conceptualization of that which is not the real exists, the word intrinsically is implied. So now I think the language really makes, when you write, it gives you the different meaning. So here is a conceptualization of that which is not the real exists. And also you can say conceptualizations which is not the unmistaken. Conceptualizations are always mistakenly perceived. So now here saying anything that you conceptualize, anything that you perceive through conceptualizations are never, truly exist. But, conceptual itself, the thought itself, is a truly exists. This is the Cittamatra says. So what you imagine, those imaginations are never really a true object. But thought itself is born from the cosmic condition, therefore it truly exists. Your eye consciousness truly exists. The way eye consciousness sees is not truly exist. Right? So eye consciousness is produced from the sense powers and the consciousness. Therefore, eye consciousness itself is the truly exists. What eye consciousness sees is not truly exists. What it sees the dualistic. It sees the form that distinct, substantially distinct from the consciousness. So Master Theravati, Theramati. So usually we call Lodidemba. Theramati as Lodidemba. Sometimes there's a sort of similar to the English word, in Hindi they say satri. Satri means still, standing still, not shaking, not moving. So in English is still, I say still, standing still. So sthir in Sanskrit. So sthiramati, so no, moving. Recognizing these qualifications because the critical later on. Now refuting the standpoints. This is two parts: extensive refutations and a summary that concludes the refutations. Extensive refutations. The first has three parts: refutations, analogy of the intrinsic existence of consciousness and the absence of external reality, refuting the arising of the consciousness devoid of external reality through potency of the propensities, and how such refutation is not inconsistent with meditation of fallness, right? So now,
what's that meditation of focus? What's that mean?
skeleton meditation.
Say that again.
Skeleton meditation.
A skeleton.
Yeah, skeleton. Yeah, meditation. So through meditation, we create projects. Whole walls is filled with, skeletons. So that meditation saying that. Refuting analogy for the intrinsic existence of consciousness and the absence of external realities. So the Prasangika school is refuting that. How can the consciousness truly exist and objects not truly exist? How can that be? And so, and then refuting the arising of the consciousness devoid of external reality through the potency of the propensities. So saying that, how can you refute external reality, through, the maturations of the propensity which is within the mind basis of all. The refuting analogy for the intrinsic. intrinsic existing of the consciousness and the absence of external realities. This has two parts: refuting the dream analogy and refuting the analogy of the seeing floating here. So refuting the dream analogies, the first has three parts: how the dream analogies does not establish intrinsic existing of the consciousness, how the dream analogies does not establish non-existence of the external realities, how the dream analogies establish all entities to be false. The first one, how the dream analogy does not establish intrinsic existing of the consciousness. Now the root text says, where is your analogy? So where is your analogy for this mind with no external realities? So what is your example? So the mind is truly exists and object does not truly exist. If you say, like a dream, for example, and then it says, let's examine this. Since such mind does not exist for me, even in a dream, like the object of the dream is not truly exist, the dream consciousness is also not truly exist. This analogy of yours has no validities. There is no sensible example. So now the commentary is that if you the Cittamatra, assert there is no external reality, but there is mind that exists through its intrinsic characteristic, where is your analogy for this? Something you could cite and say, for example, to this Cittamatra response, say one is sleeping, say one is sleeping inside a tiny room, and due to the illusions caused by the sleep, one dream of an entire herd, right, of the mad elephant. Could those elephants be inside that room? They could not. Like this dream, I accept with a certainty that while there is no external object, an intrinsically real consciousness does exist. So the dream consciousness is, truly exists, but the object of the dream is not truly exist. So this is what they say. To demonstrate that such response is pointless, Cittamatra says, let's examine. And so this was whole demonstrated that such response is pointless. Cittamatra says, let's examine, that is to say, analyze this example here. What is it that need to be analyzed? It is thus, it is this just an elephant in the dream have no existence. This mind that dream of herd of the mad elephant, the mind that supposedly exists by virtue of its own intrinsic characteristic, has no existing for us either. This is because it is unborn. And if there is no consciousness that exists by virtue of its intrinsic characteristic, then this analogy of yours has no validity. Like elephant, the herd of elephants is unborn, right? Unborn. So the consciousness in the dream state, consciousness that perceiving the hunted elephant is also unborn. So the dream that you eat the food, right? And like the food is not there, therefore there is no you have eaten that food. also not true. External, no consciousness. So what is not being demonstrated here is that just an elephant in the dream do not exist. Neither does consciousness. One must understand that this statement indicates non-existing of the intrinsically real consciousness. For dependent natures, the devoid of external reality asserted by the Cittamatra is said to possess intrinsic reality. In the commentary too, when something on the concluding summary, just as there is no cognizable object, understand that there is no cognizing mind either. When there's no real food, there's no real food eating. One finds that following explicit qualifications note that the cognizing mind that takes on the aspect of the object of knowledge too is unborn by virtue of their own existence. Furthermore, both the root texts and the relevant commentaries contains numerous instances where, when refuting the concept such as this object of negation is qualified, moreover, what Chandrakirti states in the following line about how ignorance gives rise to volitions and how volition gives rise to the consciousness has to be from the perspective of his own standpoint. So right now, the argument is very much focusing on saying that how can you really prove the consciousness that truly exists and the object do not truly exist? Then the mind-only school says, like a dream. A tiny room, you can dream the heart of a mad elephant, the heart of mad elephant. But there is no elephant that exists, but the dream consciousness is truly exists. So now the Preceding school says, like elephants not exist, there is no consciousness perceiving elephant is also not truly exist. When there is, so like objects not truly exist, similar to the subject itself is, also not truly exist. So this much, in this.
Well, this is a very clever argument of the mind-only school. They're saying, not unlike someone who believes in Atman, it's a very good argument, actually. That hey, how can you dispute that there's a dreamer? There's obviously a dreamer, that someone's having a dream. That's their, in a nutshell, their argument. How can you, even if you can't find the dreamer, you can't see it directly. There's obviously a dreamer because someone's got to be having the dream. Seems like a pretty good, kind of a convincing argument to me.
Yeah. So in a dream, you can dream about seeing things, smelling things, hearing things, without, no one is playing any music, but you can listen to music in a dream. So now the question is, as there is no music playing, right? So music is not true, therefore you being listening to music is also not true. Right? So there is nothing to listen, so that what you listen can be truly exist.
Well, it's kind of saying,
Yeah.
to me, a little different.
So-
It's kind of saying there is a projector. There is a projector. You can't eliminate the fact that there's a projector, which is creating this film on the screen. Because if there's no projector, even though the movie is imaginary, if there's no projector, how can there be a movie?
So yeah, when there is no object, the real object, there is no subject that perceiving the real object. So that's argument. Now the mind-only school, this is, the second step, the mind-only school says, when you wake up, you remember that you have dreamed. So which means, there is, while you are sleeping, there's a mind, there is a plane projecting the dreams. So, right? So that is truly exists, therefore you can remember when you wake. So now say, so you remember you have dreamed elephant, and you also remember the elephant, those in the dream. So they, by remembering the having dreamed of elephant, therefore dream is truly exists. Why you are not being able to say, I have dreamed elephant, that elephants, those I remember still. So therefore, those elephants are truly exist. So that's the same thing, So
I don't know about. I mean, it seems to me that you don't have to reject the fact that what you've seen is a dream.
Yeah, I don't have to reject, but I reject because it's making sense.
I mean, there's still a dreamer, even though it's only a dream.
Yeah, when we talk about the dream, there is a dreamer. There is a dream. So your point is the dream is not truly exist. The dream state of mind is not truly existing. Like the object is not truly exist, the subject which is dreaming of that object is also not truly exist. So the Preceding schools is equal. Like unreal of the object, unreal of the subject. So you remember the dream, and you also remember the object that you dream. So the same things, how many times you just bring how many times you're trying to find the, criteria to prove something truly exists. There's also, another criteria saying, so like the dream, and why not about the object? And then the question is, the dream is not really perceiving the real object. That's right. So then again, going back to the point, if there is no real object to dream, right, how can the consciousness, the dreaming of an object, unreal, is truly exist? So you can, in the 80 years old man can dream, he can climb up to the mountain in 5 minutes in the dream, right? So like, kind of he's running up to the mountain in 5 minutes is unreal, that to seeing that and being able to be running is also unreal.
Does that mean no karma can be created in the dream state?
Uh-huh.
This is a little bit of an aside, not
Like a
quite
salad?
correct. I'm talking about karma here now. Now, Now, generally we say karma is created by thoughts and speech and actions in the waking state, but it's discounted in the teachings that it can be created in the dream state, right? I mean, if you dream of killing someone in the dream state, it's not given the same power as if you actually kill someone, right? The karma is not created in the dream state, right?
And then?
That's the question. Can karma be created in a dream state or not?
How much giving for this? So if I answer, so what is the deal?
I think you'll say it can't be created.
Is it 10,000 to 5,000?
Because one doesn't have power over the dream. But however, in the waking state is sometimes created as dreamlike. In fact, I've heard at least one Rinpoche say that the waking state is more insidious than the dream state because we believe it truly exists. Can you hear me? The waking state.
Uh-huh.
The waking state, I've heard at least one master saying that the waking state is, I use the word insidious, I should say what that means. It's more, the waking state is like the dream state, but it's worse in the sense that when we wake from a dream, we know we've been dreaming. But in the waking state, we don't realize that state does not truly exist. It is kind of a dream, even in the waking state. Right? I mean, does the waking state truly exist?
Everything is like you're like in a dream.
No, well, I don't think I'm in a dream any more than anyone else here.
It's not a scrambled egg, but it's scrambled. So I think we should hold on the point that what is the mindfulness school. We are not sure which one is worse. Dream is worse or the waking is worse. So it doesn't depend on how you describe that. So I think this is very, very challenging even for the mind at the Preceding school to continuously dispute with the mindfulness school to prove that consciousness not truly exists. So it's very, very challenging with the Preceding school. But you can go with that, like saying, like object not truly exists, like subject not truly exists. And then the mindfulness school says, yeah, object we understand not truly exists. A subject truly exists because I remember, because that is subject. Remember. And then again, presents, you remember the subject, and you also remember the object. And then mindfulness school says, no, there's no object to perceive. And then the Preceding school says, when there is no object to see, right? The object to see, and subject, that consciousness, subject that is feel like is perceiving object is also not true, right? When there's a nothing, you feel like I have touched something. So although there's nothing, so you understand because there's nothing. So my feeling of having been touched something is not true. So again, person mindfulness school said, but still, there is, the object cannot be, object. There is no object that is real. Therefore, object cannot be impact on consciousness. But this unreal, imperfect consciousness is still, there is the effect, the continuously coming. So the Preceding schools cannot really, deny there's the continuation of that imperfect dependent arising. Prasangika school can argue that it's not true or it's not, not truly existing or not truly existing, but they cannot argue there's the continuation of the dream state of mind, from the dream to the awakening. There is a continuation, but there's no object they continue. There's no object in a dream, and there is no object in awakening. The herd of elephant. So there's no continuation object. That part, the Sangha school, they do not really insist on arguing that. So they say, how can you say truly exists or not? So the Prasangika school says, this, very, very challenging for the Prasangika school. When the Prasangika school really kind of, convincingly prove to the mind-only school the consciousness not truly exists, that is, that maybe it takes years. So that's a continuously you can discuss, discuss with the mind-only school. The way the mind-only school explain, you can, bring an argument, dispute on that, and they will change the way of saying, continue saying. But finally, when the mind-only school says, there is the continuation of the cause and effect, the continuation of the dream, but there is no object continuing, So therefore, I'm again saying objects not truly exist, but the subjects truly exist. So Prasangika schools, so I will come tomorrow maybe. so it's very challenging, Prasangika school. So there is the you can for the next there's the logic reasoning to trying to constitute the possible of the next life. So they always use the logic that just born consciousness, the first consciousness of the baby, and must have continuation of the consciousness. It must have a continuation of the consciousness, because it is the consciousness like present consciousness. So there is no direct example that can match with the the firstborn consciousness. There is, you can only show logically. So like present consciousness, the way I'm thinking right now is influenced from what I taught previously. So this, using that example, said the firstborn baby's consciousness must have a continuation of consciousness in the past. So that's, if they don't really agree, and you just leave, you can, you can lay out the reasoning, but you cannot really push them. You can just, you cannot just grab their necks. Do you understand? So just, sometimes it's like that. There's no, direct example. Like, for example, table is impermanent. The table is impermanent. Like body is impermanent because it's produced in the cosmic condition, like the weather, like a flower, like leaf. So they're directly, you can see. So there is no, like this kind of example, you cannot provide to establish the next life. And even the harder for the mind on the school to prove consciousness truly exists. So we can just open small, tiny holes and let them think. And then that way, so, yeah.
I'm going to ask you one last question. And I'm going to go back earlier, a little bit earlier when we were talking about...
I'm going to stop now. Just one question.
Okay. we're talking about other powered consciousness, and you gave 3 cases before something happened, the present time and the future time. And then after that, you divided other powered consciousness into 2 categories: imperfect, which was you could also called contaminated other powered consciousness, and perfect other perfect or uncontaminated other powered consciousness. And I assume by that you mean one consciousness is powered by ignorance and one is powered by the wisdom of discernment. That's how I interpret that. Why are they both categorized as other powered? Why are there 2 categories? Why are they not 2 completely? Why are they both called other powered?
So everything is under the cause and the condition, and everything that is functioning under the cause and the condition, under the power of the cause and condition. Therefore, it's other power nature. Sometimes it says Buddha's teachings out of his compassion, out of the compassion pushes this kind of teachings. So compassions and the wisdom together, and that forced the Buddha to this audience, maybe this teaching is more suitable, like minority school, or this audience, so is more kind of suitable in the Prasanga school point of views. Or this just generally talk about the Vinayas. This generally talk about the 4 Noble Truths, 16 attributes. So it's all is not because Buddha's deciding, I'm going to talk this time, the Varanasi, I'm going to talk on the 4 Noble Truths. In the Vajrapika, I'm going to Prajaparimitas. No, because it's all driven, maybe, they say, forced by compassion and wisdom. Like doctors prescribe, medicine to the patient, right? For example, so it's according to whatever that is, he has diagnosis, and whatever that's the medicine available, and according to that. So he is not going to, he is not deciding it at home. So I'm going to, today's patient, I'm going to give this medicines. So there is also other power. It's conditioned by the patients and illness and whatever the available medicine in that, their time. So the other power means it's conditioned. Anything that is functioning, arising, is always under the force of the cause and condition. So that's why other power. There is a positive other power, negative other power, contaminated other power, and uncontaminated other power. Yeah. Anything?
That's it.
Oh, cool. So,
sorry, I've been a bit of a pain in the ass today. I've asked a lot of questions.
Oh, there are a lot of questions. Good, but question has to be relevant.
Well, there was just one that was a sort of tangential.
So I think that's most difficult for the Prasangic school, to convince others, there's nothing truly exists. So others are so sure, minority school, 100% sure, without hesitation, it says, anything that born from the cosmic condition. That is the reason to say it is truly exist. So one is 100% sure with their, consciousness truly exists, and Prasangika school 100% sure that consciousness not truly exist. And the reason, minority school says because they are born from the cosmic condition. Prasangika school says they are not truly exist because they are born from the cosmic condition, dependent. And then there's so at the end, maybe they have to, grab their necks. Or you can say, bring it on. So it's continuously and healing, and then they change things. And again, they heal and change. So it takes a long time. So Chandrakirti thinks that, if you understand the minority school, more detail, and that helps you, the Prasangika school, more profoundly, much better, more detail. So that's therefore Chandrakirti brought this minority school point of views and how they lays out the reasoning for the truly existence of the conditioned things. Oh, okay. Chanju semjo remboje maje bana jeju devanya ba mevanya kone kondo peroje tonye tawa remboje maje bana jeju devanya ba mevanya kone kondo peroje pama semje tamje deda denju ngendo tamje tado tonwa de chanju semba kana susu teda gunyo molong jojuruji karera wego be shinga pendan dewa molong jungne jere semwa tinzen jazo ye chabe sire ba do denjuruji.
May the precious body mind have yet one horizon grow. May the bone of multiply or increase forevermore. May the precious mind realizing emptiness have yet one horizon grow. May the bone of multiply or increase forevermore. Due to all these merits, may all Father and Mother sentient beings have all the happiness. And may all lower realms be empty forever. Wherever there are Bodhisattvas, may all their prayers be accomplished immediately. In the sacred land surrounded by snow mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. O powerful intrinsic Tensei, remain in this world until samsara ends.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Namaskara.